Hi everyone, welcome to Charter Ed Talks. Today I'm honored to be speaking with Michael Barber here with Barber and Hewitt. He has been a digital marketing guru for many, including Charter School Capital, for many, many years. Welcome, Michael.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You bet. And Stephanie Risto, who is leading up all of our digital demand gen efforts at Charter School Capital. So if you're seeing this, it's probably as a result of Stephanie's work. We're going to be talking about email marketing today for charter schools, so Stephanie and Michael, take it away.
Yeah, to get us started, let's begin with the obvious question.
Yeah.
Does email marketing still work?
Works,
and why?
Works really, really well. I think, no matter where you look across the research studies, we continue to see that consumers, regardless of audiences, regardless of industry, this continues to be a channel that they gravitate towards. Adobe's probably done the most work around this channel in terms of research and consumption habits. And for the past 5 or 6 years, they've put into the market a really, really good study on email consumer behavior. And year over year continues to show that email is still the #1 revenue generator for organizations, and it is still the channel if brands are going to be pushing out content to consumers or to their constituents or their audiences. It's still the place they say they want to receive that message from. On the why, this is an interesting question. I think, personally, there's not a lot of research out there that's looking at the why of this, but I think it's got to do with everything that consumers are being faced with in terms of choices of where they're participating online. They're getting bombarded by Facebook, bombarded by Instagram, Twitter. You look at what's happening from a geopolitical perspective right now. And the inbox is the one place that everyone understands. It's been largely the same the last 25 years, if you will, since Hotmail came out in 1996. So, they don't have to get accustomed to the Facebook news feed changing, or, how do they post a story on Instagram? Reply, forward, reply to all, contact lists, they're largely the same that they've been since the beginning of email. And so it's a place where people are really comfortable.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. Specifically when we're looking at charter schools, though, how should they be using email marketing?
I would say not for students. Anybody under the age of 18, unless they've got a very specific reason to have an email, like an Amazon account, or they signed up for one of these social networks on using email, they probably don't even have one unless they've been required to from their school, which you do see some high schools certainly require students to have email addresses, but it really just depends on the school. So this is a marketing channel that you're going to want to use for parents. You're going to want to use for board members or potential board members, for community and government involvement with your school, all of those constituent groups that surround your students. So those are the audiences that likely have an inbox, if not have multiple email addresses that they've got. That's the place you're going to want to use email when it comes to charters, is largely for all the audiences that surround the students and the cause you're trying to bring forward.
That makes sense. So I know for a lot of these charter schools, they want to know which tools, which platforms they should be using from a 1,000-foot level, like if they have the budget, and then at a grassroots level, what really realistically makes more sense for them.
So at a 1,000-foot level, this really depends on how you want to use email from a tactical perspective, from a marketing perspective. So a lot of the turnkey student enrollment platforms, especially as you get to, sort of as you're maturing as a school, they will have some sort of email marketing component built into their platform. So that can be used for student enrollment activities, that can be used for letting people know what's happening at the school on a weekly basis, what are the activities that students are participating in, what do parents need to know on any given week, month, or year, if you will. Most of them have got really robust tool sets built into their platform so that you can utilize them as a sort of 360 solution, or an all-in-one solution, if you will. At a grassroots effort, if you're just starting off and you've got no budget, no time, and no energy, which charter leaders are having on any given moment, right? Almost all the really great platforms that are out there offer some sort of either free or sponsored model around their platform. So for the sake of example, MailChimp is a great one to use. If you have under 5,000 subscribers, they will allow you to use the platform for free, as long as their little logo can be at the bottom of your email footer. So there are multiple platforms that are out there, Vertical Response, Constant Contact, Emma, that do the same sort of monetization model, that aren't going to charge a lot for a small subscriber base. Now, as you get more sophisticated, those platforms have got to be able to grow with you. And as you add more subscribers, you're probably going to be having to pay for that email service provider. That being said, not a huge expense. Even at 10, 20, 30,000 contacts, if you're not doing significant activities around the platform, you're probably getting away with something under the neighborhood of, say, $100 per month. But as you get more sophisticated, these platforms get more expensive, and there's certainly more platforms out there that you can do a lot more with as you mature as a school.
So there are definitely some folks out there that haven't used a platform before and might not understand the benefits of it. What's the benefit of, say, a MailChimp over 1,000-person BCC line? Because I've seen it before.
This is a really good question. This comes down to really two things. One, deliverability. So when you're BCCing 1,000 people, if someone marks your email address, your at charterschool.com or whatever your domain is as spam, that reflects against your domain really heavily. And the last thing you want to do is compromise the deliverability of just your normal day-to-day professional to and from emails getting characterized as spam. So having an email service provider gives you some layer of protection from that deliverability perspective. The second big piece of this is just all the data that goes around these users and these contacts. Any one of these email service providers, whether it's Constant Contact, Vertical Response, MailChimp, Emma, or the like, or any one of the hundreds that are out there, they allow you to build data profiles around this email address, right? From what's their first name and last name, so that you can do some personalization inside of that email campaign. It allows you to do segment groups. So let's say you've got grades 1 through 5. You can segment your parents or whoever is in those lists by, where their students are at, so that you can target those communications really well. Also a lot easier to manage the communications. If somebody unsubscribes, the provider deals with that unsubscribe for you. You don't have to manage your list that way. So there's a lot of benefits that get you so many better features than just having 1,000 people on a BCC list.
We laugh, but I've seen it.
Yeah, oh no, it happens. And then certainly from how you're building your brand as a school, right? So one of the most important things that schools can do is build their brand, right? What does the school stand for, and how do you bring that to life visually through your logo and your identity and your colors and your fonts? And certainly designing an email inside of Outlook or Gmail is not great. You can only do so much. So if you want to have an email that looks great, regardless of whether you've got a parent that's on a phone or whether they're on a Mac, right? Then all of those email service providers will help you create templates that'll look great, that'll work for your brand, that'll build that brand identity for you. So there's any number of key features that, going outside of Outlook or Gmail or wherever you're doing that 1,000-person BCC list is, that you'll get from an email service provider like MailChimp.
I totally agree. I have one more bonus question for you,
Okay.
because I think we have the time. I know often when we talk to these schools, they're like, great, I want to do email, but how do I start my list? Like, how do I create a list to send to people? I know that that's a gorilla of a question,
Meaty question.
But in a 30-second clip, what do you think you'd say there?
I'd say the first thing is make sure you've got your data cleaned up. So you're not going to want to import what we would call a dirty list, so old subscribers or parents that aren't part of the school anymore. The second thing is there's a couple key campaigns that you want to try and set up if you can, and you've got the bandwidth. Your welcome series, which is the first email that someone receives when they subscribe, is by far the most important email you're going to work on, because you want people to get that right away. Beyond that, make sure the data is clean, and test your campaigns. Always make sure before you send out that first campaign, have a group of subscribers. That could be a parent, a teacher, it could be admin individuals. It can be a group of people that you trust to be able to send out that test campaign so they can see what your emails are going to look like. And then you get a little bit warmed up to actually having to hit that send button to all the hundreds or thousands of people before you send it out.
Totally.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. I would like to make one more plug if you want additional resources on how to get those leads in the first place, or some of the tools and platforms that Michael talked about. We have those on our site. Just search digital marketing and/or resources on charterschoolcapital.org.
Thank you, Stephanie. What a marketer, right?
I know.
And Michael, we can't thank you enough for coming and being here with us today. We really appreciate all that you've done for us.
For sure, my pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Steph, thanks. Michael, thanks. Thank you for showing up for Charter and Talk.